Hi everyone, welcome to the second day of the webinar. We'll just wait for another 5 more minutes for people to join in, and then we can start with the session. So until then, we'll just take a pause for another 5 minutes and then we can get started. And as always, before we start, I will be sharing the practice file with you guys in the chat, and we can take it from there. I'll be sharing the file in the next minute. We'll just wait for another 1 more minute and then I can share the file with you guys. Sankitarna, definitely I can share you the file, but let me just send the first one for the first download, and then I can share the second file as well. I'll send you the completed version. You can simply delete the rest, and then that becomes a questions, so you can do that. Yeah. Okay, guys, it's about time now. So let me share the file with you guys in the chat. So requesting all of you to get it downloaded at your end, and we can start with the agenda for the day. So I've shared the file in the chat, and let me also share the completed version of yesterday's session, which was Excel tricks. There we are. So I've shared both the file. The first one, which is top analyst, is for today's session, and which I've already shared. The second version, which is Excel tricks solved, which is actually a completed version of yesterday's session. In case anyone is not able to find the files or was not able to have it in yesterday's session, we can have it. So once the file is downloaded, please type done in the chat box so that I know exactly everyone has downloaded it. So just wait for another minute more, and then I'll kickstart with the agenda for the day. That's great. That's great. Waiting for others. Okay, so there is a Google Drive also shared by my colleague here. So you can use that one as well to download the file. Okay. So let me start with the case study over here, and then gradually we'll move into how the data works. So in this case, as you can see, the data is presented in a format. So let me give you the background of the story. So I am an NBFC, that is a non-banking financial institution, and who collects funding from the general public. So basically, it's a bank, but it's a non-regulated bank. You can put it like, okay. So whenever I collect a payment, okay. So let's say for the month of January, when I made the payment collection, so this is the record, or this is the amount that was being paid by that customer. So so every week the payment is happening, or every quarterly, like however the customer has decided, the payment has been received. So whenever the payment is received, I punch the number, and wherever there is a default, I simply keep it as a blank. Like for example, over here, the person made the payment the first and the second, but at the third he made a default, so there is a blank. And then he made the payment. So in this case, the total payment by the second person, that is ADMA, is around 4,37,110. And the same goes for the first one. So he made a consistent payment. So his payment comes around 3,39,000. Okay. Similarly, you can see a lot of huge amount of line items, and some cases the payment has been received multiple number of times. So one customer name will appear many number of times at the bottom as well. So this is the data that we have. Now I need to make a report out of this data. Ignore this one for the time being. Let me just hide it for now. So this is the data that I have, and I want to clean the data. Okay, how do I clean the data, and how do I get this information out? Like whatever kind of analysis I can perform, how can I do that in this case? Now to get that output over here, so basically firstly is I'll have to populate these informations manually, right? And to do that, basically, normally what I do is I'll have to pull this information down, like Control D. I'll have to do it over here as well for this first 2 records. Then I'll have to copy this line and I'll have to do it for the rest of the records as well. Basically, this becomes a manual task. And after that, I'll have to eliminate this blank line to make it a consistent data. Right? This is a manual effort that I have to put across. Now, I want to automate this process a little bit. Now, to do the structure, what I do is I somehow need to identify the amount cell which is blank. The amount column which is there, I want to have it blank. If it is blank, then well and good, I will be able to auto-populate the answer. Now, to do this, what I do is I keep the cursor on the top, okay, the first cell, and I select till the end. I scroll down manually. Let's say there are shortcuts available like Control-Shift-N, but just to avoid keyboard hassle, I'm just using scrolling down. I hold the Shift key and I simply click the last cell. Okay, that will end up selecting the whole data till the bottom. Let me repeat again. I kept the first cursor from where I want to start the selection. I scroll down. I come to the last cell. Okay, and I just hold the Shift key. Now, why am I holding the Shift key? The rule of the Shift key is that whatever is in a consistent selection, as a continuous selection, it will capture the whole thing. So I hold the Shift key, I click on the last cell, and that automatically captures the record. Now, you may ask me, what is the shortcut from the keyboard point of view? There is one. You just have to keep the cursor at the start. You can use Control Shift, and there's an end button. Let me write it down over here. That's Control Shift and end. There is an end button, right? So you use that Control Shift End. It takes to the last use cell. From here on, you'll have to reduce the selection like Control Shift Left, Control Shift Up. So this is the alternative method. So to avoid this keyboard hassle, we use the other technique. Now, once this is done, I want to identify all these blank cells somehow. I'm not sure how, but we need to get that thing done. Now, to do that, I go to the Home tab. And on the right side, there is a option, Find and select the magnifying glass. Within that, I get a feature called Go to Special. This is a feature which allows you to select anything specific. Like if you see here in this case, I can select all the given parameters over here, like comment, text, common characters, text, like a lot many things are there. I'm looking for the blank one. So there is a dedicated option called blank. I click on it and I click OK. Automatically, all the intermittent blanks have been selected, which is exactly what I was looking for. Now I want to eliminate these blank cells. I want to eliminate these blank cells and I want to basically remove the entire line. Now to do that, I go to the Home tab and under the cells section, there's a delete option, right? When you open the drop down, it is asking whether you want to delete a column or a row or a specific cell. I want to eliminate the entire row. So I'll simply select delete sheet rows. And that makes the data continuous. As you can see, now it's a flawless data. Let me recap this once again for all of us. First, I kept my cursor in the first data. I scrolled down. I selected the last block. Then I went to Home tab, Find, go to Special. And from the box, I decided blank as my option. Once I'm done, I click OK. All the intermittent blanks have been selected. Once the selection is done, I don't click anywhere. I simply go to the Home tab. Under the section cells, there is a delete option. Within delete, I choose to delete the entire row, which actually brings the other data above, and I have a continuous data now. This is step 1. step one of the data manipulation or data processing. So I'm going to process this data in such a way that I can make sense out of it. And for that, I need to have a consistent data. Just a second. I'll give you guys 5 minutes. Please complete at this stage. Take out, guys, 5 minutes. Try to attempt it. And once done, please type done in the chat. Okay, so few of you guys are already done. That's good. That's good. Great. Now, if you guys are done at this stage, then the second phase will be even easier, because now the only thing left for us to do is get the data in a correct format, right? So in this situation, I just have to populate this data down and I need to make a report out of this, right? And to do that structure, again, if you realize the cells that I'm looking forward is a blank cell, right? But this time I don't have to do a manual selection. Instead, I can do a shortcut. That's Control A. Because now, because the data is a continuous data, keeping the cursor anywhere and pressing Control A automatically selects the whole frame for me. Now, once the selection is done, I simply repeat the same process of home, find, go to special, and that brings up a panel where I can literally choose blank again. Once the selection is done, all the intermittent blanks are again selected. I just have to fill them up with the above value, right? And to do this, already the first cell is already selected. Don't click. Instead, just start with a formula that's equals to the above value, which is A6 in this case. I repeat, once the selection is done, let me repeat the process again. It's Control A, home, go to special, I select blank. All the intermittent blanks are selected. I simply click OK. I'm not clicking anywhere. I'm just clicking equals and then I'm referring the above. So now here is a trick. I want this formula to be copy pasted in all the cells, vertical and horizontal. There are two ways of doing it. One, you simply press an enter, confirm the first answer, then press Control D, that's copy down. Oh, sorry. So Control D, that's copy down, and Control R, that's copy right. Okay, this is a way of populating the data. Okay, I just repeat again. Control A. I go to the home tab, binocular. I select blank, I click OK. All the intermittent blanks are selected. I say equals to above value, enter. Once that's done, I do a control D, that's copied down. It gets populated all the way down. And then control R, that's copy right, that gets plotted onto the right side. Once this is done, you can simply plot the data. The alternative method to do so is you do refer the cell, but instead of pressing enter, you go with something called control and enter. Holding the control key and pressing an enter automatically populates this value across the selection. And that fills up the data for you. And now this is a data which is capable of making reports. As we discussed yesterday, whatever data you get, you have to have a consistent data. And if there is a consistent data, you can make a report out of it. Please try this out at your end, the complete phase. As of now, it's 21. So let's say 21. I'll wait till 25 max. Once you guys are done, please type done in the chat box. Tali, that's good. That's great. Just wait for another 2 more minutes and then we'll move down to the data analysis of this. Thirty more seconds, guys. I take majority of you guys are done. So just wait for another 15 seconds more, approx. Anyone needs more time, please let me know in the chat itself so that I can take a pause, else I'll proceed further. Can you explain once again, please? Yeah, sure, definitely I can. So let me take the data to its original stage first. So this is the data that I had earlier, right? So the stages over here is first select the whole data. Okay, once the selection is done, you go to home, you go to special, you identify the blank cells. Once the blank cells have been selected, you simply define that you need to delete or eliminate an entire row, and that simply deletes the row over here. Once that is done, I need to populate the internal data by, let's say, clicking Control A, go into the Home tab, go to Special, and click on blank. Once the blank is selected, then there are two ways of performing this output. One is by saying above value, press an enter, and to populate the answer down, you press Control D, that's copy down, and then press Control R, that's copy right, to populate the data to the right side. The alternative method at the first go itself is that you say equals to, you refer the above cell. Instead of pressing just an enter, you go with Control and enter. That populates the full range and you have a complete output. And that's a consistent data throughout across now. Basically, now from this data, we can make some analysis. Great. Okay, once done till here, now the next phase or the next course of action is to analyze the report. And to get that information out here, what we can do is, let's say I select the data here. I just have to make a report, a summary out of this data. And to do that, I go to the Insert tab, and we have a dedicated option of pivot table, right? Something we learned yesterday. We just click on it. We get a summary report. Again, I'll just prepare a summary over here itself. I select the data. I click OK and confirm the resource. Then this, what I want is I need to know exactly who is paying me how much, right? So in this, I take up the supplier name into the row, the amount into the value, and that gives me the supplier name row. And to make it more readable, I'll just apply comma separator. And that gives me the answer that the per person, how much is the data given up. Okay. Now, once we have this information, now let's say, for example, if I want to know who is the top 10 suppliers or who are the top 5 suppliers in this case, I can actually use pivot table itself to make a report out of it. Let's say, for example, if I simply go to the labels over here, at the bottom over here, there is an option over here, value filter, and there is a feature called top 10. I go to top 10 bottom. Let's say I want to know who is the one who is not paying me more. Whom should I be kicking off from the, let's say, the banking services? So in that case, I go with bottom. Like if you refer to the share market, we have something called winners and losers, right? In this case, I can simply pick up the bottom 5, which becomes my losers in this case. So these are the 5 vendors who are not paying much in the cycle. Let's say in this case, I would say low buckets. And let's say if I want to go with a higher bucket section, I simply create another copy over here. I'll just do a copy paste. And in this case, I just change the filter. Instead of bottom, I just make it top 5. And that gives me the winners in this case, or let's say high buckets. And to make an analysis out of it, I just have to populate a chart out of them. I can either make it a bar chart to identify the top winners and losers over here. Let's say that's my primary bucket. And similarly, I can perform the same for the second version as well. Regarding the formatting and all, I leave it for the later session for the master class. But then again, those functionalities are also available. Let me just present it to you guys. So let's say I am presenting a data where I am representing the full information. Here we go. And to make it more appealing, let's say in this case, you are not concerned about the vertical data. You can simply change the appearance of the data by right-clicking, change chart type, and you can either think of having it as a pie chart to show ratio analysis or horizontal bar to actually see the names properly. So this way you actually get to know exactly what's the variable, what's the value, and so on. So there are many ways of representing this data in these cases. So it's all about having the data in a consistent format. Once the data is consistent, it's very easy to present the data in easier. Let me just set the data back to its original form. The column chart. That gives me the winners and loser trade. Please try this out at your end. Any questions at this stage, let me know. If not, then we can move down to the second exercise. And post that, we will see how to get Power BI installation, and we'll see how the data works for Power BI. I'll give you guys 5 minutes interval. I hope that you are able to understand whatever I'm going through. Anyone need me to repeat anything? Let me know, please. Please use the chat for responding it with me. And as always, if you guys enjoy what you saw, please type down hi-fi in the chat box. Please repeat. Sure, I can. So I believe making the pivot table is already clear. So I'll just extend the version. So after having the pivot table, you simply go to the filter and there's an option of value filter, which has many options like above average, below average, top, bottom. What options are there? The one I am referring is the top 10 parameter, where you need to provide whether like you want to have a top 10 or bottom 10. You provide the number and then you simply click OK. Once you do that, you end up getting the output. To repeat the same for the second version. Now to do this, just select this whole table, make a copy of it, and just replicate the same structure. Instead of bottom, you simply pick the top. You can also switch between them as well as per your choice. I hope that answers the question for you. Great. You have another 2 minutes more, guys. If you guys need more time, please let me know. If not, then I'll proceed further with the next exercise. One more minute, guys. Less than a minute, rather. Great. Again, I believe everyone is able to catch up. If needs more time, please let me know. Rohit, the master class, basically this is, you can consider a demo, right? So there is a master class that's there where basically you will be getting to learn a full-fledged understanding. This, I would say, this is kind of a tip of the iceberg, as we mentioned earlier. So a master class is where you can reach out to the counselors, the coordinator, like there will be a Spock given to you in this current scenario. Aman, my colleague, is the Spock. So you can reach out to Aman and you can enroll yourself to the master class. So once you enroll into the master class, you will end up getting a one-to-one trainer. Like any for queries and Q&As, you will get a one-to-one counselor, and you will be able to like you will be getting the answer for every question that you attend or encounter in your work profile or however it is. And to aid into your learning, we also have sessions and classrooms where you will be getting a full-fledged session of, let's say, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on your time frame. Let's say whatever your time availability is, you can enroll yourself, and based on that time, if you want offline, online. However, like more detail will be definitely shared by Aman in this case. You can reach out to Aman in that case. So for that matter, I can ask Aman to just drop his mail or contact details in the chat. So you can anyways, like you can reach out to him at any given point of time. Aman, would you please, so Amar, apology. Amar, would you please just share your details in the chat so that they can reach out to you?
Yes, I'm sharing.
Thank you. Three more minutes? Sure, sure. That's not an issue. So it's 37. I'll wait till, let's say, 38, 39. Then we'll move down to the next exercise. Yeah. So Amar has shared his contact details in the chat, so you can use that. Sure, I can repeat. So first, what I did is I made a pivot table out of the data. After making the pivot table, I just populated supplier name into the rows and amount into the values. Post that, I added a filter. This is the filter icon over here, right? The down arrow. I went into the down arrow. I went to value data fields. And over here, there is something called top and bottom approach. I went into the top 10. And then over here, I provide the bottom for the, let's say, the lower bucket. I provided the number of bucket that I'm looking for. Let's say you want to change it to 5, 10, 15, whatever number you're looking for, just mention it. Item wise or percentage wise or sum wise, however you want to take it up. You pick that information. You click OK, and that gives you the bottom bucket. Similarly, you can do the same for the top. So I just made a copy of the first version that ends up creating a second version of pivot table. I just have to incorporate the same changes over here. So I just went to the filter again, same approach, value fields, top 10, and instead of top, I just approached for the bottom. So sorry, this was for top. The first one was bottom. Same number, same parameter. I click OK, and that concludes the second. Sakshi, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, just simply make a copy of this data and just paste it over here. That way, simply you'll be able to recreate it. Yeah, great, great. Rutuja, yes, you can enroll yourself for the course as well, as my colleague has already shared the contact details in the chat. So you can reach out to my colleague and he will be able to help you out with the process of registrations and everything. That's totally fine. Yeah. How to create a table I am getting. So to create the table, I believe you are referring to the main table. You'll have to populate the data, and to create the table on the right side, that's a pivot table. You keep the cursor in the data, go to insert tab, and there's an option called pivot table. Just click onto it and that structure will be recreated. Something we have done in yesterday's session. Yeah. Okay, great. Now, once we understand this output, now let's move down to the second phase where we need to make some reports and output. Let's say, for example, I have to get some analysis like how many of them are being hired. So let's say if I come to the second question. So we have some database over here. So this is from one of my friend where I used to work earlier. So basically this is the data that I work. Let me also ignore the first set of questions here. This is an interview question that we used to use during that day. Very good friend. So basically over here, so this is not the data that I use. So it's all his data. So how to get this information? Now, the question is, let's say the people are being hired, right? So the people have been hired over here and the dates are mentioned in this case. The challenge is apparently these dates are all mentioned in year, month, and day format. All of these are mentioned in year, month, and day format. Right? Now the challenge is, how do I get this information in such a way where I can make reports? Because my system does not understand year, month, day. Because if you realize, it's not even capturing or it's not even considering that as a date. For a matter of fact, I can't even do a summation. If you think of doing summation, it simply gives me 0. You realize it's not even able to add up because these are not even in date format. These are all text. Somehow, I want my system to understand that these are dates. Once I get that date, I need to identify whether any of them are Saturdays or Sundays. So you realize that these kinds of question comes up for analysis, like how many Saturday, Sunday workings were there, so that we can give them overtime and so on and so forth. So many questions in parallel comes to such situation. So how do I get this information and how do I get this data out? So first I have to make this date proper format. Once that is done, then followed by that, I'll have to take up the second output to identify Saturday, Sundays, which is yes or no. So here we'll understand how data cleansing works with a little bit of logic inside. Yes, you can do that like a magic function of what we did yesterday, the flash fill, but then you'll have to perform it in 2 ways. Like for example, I'll have to say there's a 01 hyphen 10 hyphen 1996. And then I'll have to press Control E so that the data understand what exactly I'm capturing. If you realize it's not able to understand that information correctly. For this one, it is capturing second, third. Over here, it did not understand that information, right? So I'll have to go in and I'll have to update it that it's not 10 in this case, it's 04 now. Then based on that, it understands the structure and maybe in that case, it's able to capture the information now. See? So this is the information that I have to provide in my system. Definitely this approach does work. But what if, like say, as I mentioned earlier in yesterday's session also, this magic trick, the flash fill is only possible if you're using Office 2013 and higher. What if you're using a lower version? How do you work it out in that case? And to get that thing done, we use something called as text to column, which we have already, like some of you guys might be aware of. So let's use this to get the structure done. Now, text to column is not only to separate the data, it also has the benefit, or it also has the like structural functionality of converting a data into a proper format. In this case, I'll go to data tab. I click on text to column. It converts the data. I go next. I do not want to split anything, so I ignore this option. I say next again. And in this case, I tell the system that I am looking for a date. This column is a date, right? I provide that information. But now it's asking what has been entered, like how is the data been entered? So it's not in DMY. As you can see, it's YMD format. From the drop down here, I change this to a YMD output. Means I'm telling my system the format that is entered over here is in a YMD format. Convert into a format of my system, and my system understands DMY. It needs the day first, followed by that month, and then followed by that year. That's the format my system understands. Once I pick this as an information, I click finish, and that converts the data away. And now you can see it's a full-fledged data in a proper format. Once this is done, I just have to identify how many of them are Saturdays and Sundays. Right? Now, to get that thing done, I'll just have to extract the information. Let's say week day. Okay. So this is something we have done, like we did yesterday. So weekday, I identify the data and I provide which week sequence do I follow. If I don't provide this information, let's say if I do not provide this information, I do get a number 3. Now, let me help you understand what is this number 3 in this case. In this situation, it's assuming 1 as Sunday and 7 as Saturday. So according to that, number 3 comes in the middle, right? That's a Tuesday. To avoid this, I go with the sequence that I want Monday to be with the number of 1. So wherever it is 1, it would be considered as Monday, and wherever it is 7, it would be considered as Sunday. I go with this approach. I close the bracket, enter, and that gives me a sequence of what I want. The only thing I have to perform in this case is that I have to make a logic. Now the logic is, now in this case, what is a Saturday and a Sunday? So 6 and 7 is basically Saturday or Sunday, right? Do we agree to this part? Yep. As per the sequence here, 1 stands Monday, 2 stands Tuesday, so on and so forth, to a point where 6 would be Saturday, 7 would be Sunday. If that's the case, I just have to build a logic, and the logic goes as such. If the result is greater than or equals to 6, means either it's 6 or 7, either one of them, in that case, mark it as a yes, else mark it as a no. So here I'm building a logic, like an if statement, to derive an answer with a yes or no. And this will help me to understand who all are getting overtime in this case. If I filter it down and I state how many Saturday, Sundays are there, there are around 82 Saturday, Sundays, or people have been hired on 82, like 82 people have been hired during Saturdays and Sundays, which will be giving or which are eligible for overtimes. Let me repeat the process once again. Let me undo the whole thing. So this is the data that we had earlier, right? So I selected the data. I go to the data tab, text to column. I ignore the second step. I come down to the third. I define that it's a date. For the drop down, I specify it's a year, month, day. It's asking me how the data has been entered. It's not asking how my system will accept. No, it's like asking me how the data has been entered. So I specify YMD format. I click finish. It formats itself. Next, I need to get the yes or no for Saturdays and Sundays. So I mark it as weekday. I provide the date over here. I provide the sequence I would like to follow. That's number 2 in this case, where it's assuming Monday as 1 and Sunday as 7. Once that is done, I take this result into an if statement. If is a logical statement which goes with a question and an answer. So the primary response, whatever your question is, has to be a true and false. I say whether it's greater than equals to 6. So if the result coming out of this is greater than equals to 6, then mark it as a yes. The yes is a text, has to be in double quotation. If it was a number, I could have mentioned it directly. So I'll say yes, And the second case, I'll say no. And that concludes the output. Now, let's say if I want to do the total in this case, I want to identify how many numbers of yes and no's are there. Very simple. Instead of saying yes or no, I'll mark it as 1 and 0. So 1 for if it is, 0 for if it is not. And let me use a comma separator, format it. And now I just have to do a summation of this range. And that gives me the result as 82. Let me put this formula in the chat for everyone's reference as well. I will also be sharing this solved version with you guys in the chat so you can use it in the future reference as well. Try this out, guys, at your end. I'll give you guys 5 minutes to execute this whole process. Anyone wants me to repeat, let me know. But again, you can also try yesterday's approach as well, the flash fill technique to clean the data. That's also fine. So as of now, it's 51. I'll wait till 56, the max. And as always, if you liked, you enjoyed what you saw, please put a high five in the chat box. The whole structure, if you want me to repeat, okay, I'll do it again once, a quick one. So this is the data that I have, right? Firstly, I select the range over here. I'll just convert this data into a table format. Oh, sorry, convert the data using text to column. I specify as a date. I provided like it's a YMD format. As you can see, it's year first, then month, and then day. And then I click finish. That converts the date. Once the date is converted, I can do a comparison or I can do a logic build on it. So I'll say equals to if the weekday using this date comes out to be greater than or equals to 6. That means it's a Saturday or Sunday. In that case, consider it as 1 else 0. And that gives me the result in this case. Now, just to give you an understanding of the data, let me format this entire frame with DDD, and there we are. So now you know exactly whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday. If I drag it down, you would see wherever it's a Saturday or a Sunday. Let me pick up one Sunday over here. All of them are Saturdays. Let me pick this one. I guess Sunday is quite lower. Okay, let me do one thing. The one over here is first, right? Let me make it second. That automatically will become Sunday, right? So if you see here, it's still holding the candle. So if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, it will definitely capture that. Anyone else, it will not capture. And to get the total, I just do a summation of these results. That gives me the total in this case. Arif, I hope that answers your question. Can you do the same comparison again? Anusha, I hope that answers your question as well. So I just recap the whole process once again. Yeah, great. So guys, any questions in Excel? Let's have a quick Q&A for 5 minutes. If not, then by 8, we will be starting with Power BI in that case. Because first we will have to get the installation done if in case you are practically trying it with me. If not, then definitely it can be a one-side session where I'll be presenting it on my screen and you guys can watch and understand how things work. And for this, you do not require any data set because Power BI itself is giving you a lot of data set at your. I'll show you what is Power BI capabilities are, what can be done with Power BI, and we'll take it up. Is available on Microsoft Store. Yes, Power BI is available on Microsoft Store, but the challenge with that is that you need to have a Microsoft login. If you're trying to download from the Microsoft Store, then you need to provide Microsoft login or let's say a proper domain login to work with. So Gmail, Yahoo, Rediff, these email IDs won't work on those platforms. So to avoid that, I would recommend getting an offline download, which will allow you to download it and get it installed separately, even though if you do not have Microsoft account. I'll walk you through, guys, how to get that thing done so that if in case any one of you guys wish to practically try it with me, it's possible. Any questions, any queries, please use the chat for the responses. And let me also share the completed version with you guys. Okay. So guys, now we will move down to, let me close this Excel file here. Now we will move down to the next case, which is Power BI. The first takeover here would be how to get the Power BI installation completed, and I'll be helping you out how to get that thing done. And then we will see how, what are the process and procedures. But as mentioned, before I start, let me share the completed version with you guys so that you always have the pre and post reference. So just a second. Yeah, there we go. So I've shared the file in the chat and you guys would be able to have it at the yeah. So basically you can use this as a reference in future whenever you would like to encounter on trial. Now let's get started with Power BI. The first take is what is Power BI. Let me show you some outputs to give you an understanding of what's capability of Power BI. So let's say Power BI dashboard. So if you have seen such kind of report somewhere, anywhere, that's a Power BI report. This is a Power BI report where you can see a structural report by just a click. Let's say if I have to see, let me check if I am able to access this report. So basically, this report gives you an understanding of what are the trends at a home level, file level, report level, and all of them are clickable out. So that's one of the feature of Power BI, that Power BI from the get-go, like from the starting point itself, is a live output. You can simply click play and you can see the report. So as we can see here, oh great, that is one of the reports. So we can actually play with this report. Let me see if I can open it in a separate page. Let the page load itself. Give me just a minute. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So basically, this is the full-fledged report here. So as you can see, this is the exact report that I was showing in the image. So over here, you can see an overall trend. It's going up, average trend, percentage growth. And the best part is you can actually click on either of this chart. See, I click on it and automatically all the reports changes gradually. If you want, you can actually hold control and click on multiple charts by just holding the control key. That allows you to click on multiple iterative charts, and you can see exactly, you see the trend is also changing gradually, like it shows exactly how the data is going across. So this is the kind of report that can be generated using the pie chart, or sorry, using the Power BI. This is one of the reports. Now let's say, for example, this is a total revenue. What about if I want to see at a monthly level? I can simply click on the month over here. The entire report reaction changes to month. If I click on yearly, I get a yearly report. You see, just with few clicks, I'm able to represent my output. Imagine this is something that you can do it on a tablet. Sorry, on a tablet, like on your mobile phone, right? You can actually have a choice of which what option you want to take up. Let's say top, bottom, 10. So you realize that there are page sections away. These are all clickable buttons. You click on home page, that comes down to the home page. You click on some top level reports. You can see the top level reports over here. You want to have a search report, you can go to the search top range so search, and that gives you a top range report over here. Location level output you want to go with, and you can have a location level output, and so on. If you want to have a menu based output, there is a 3-line for menu filter, which you can actually go with the filter level. Let's say if you're looking for one specific parameter, let's say I am only looking for, let's say, specific location. I'm just randomly selecting locations over here in this case. But if you realize, this level of control is what you get at a output level. Once done, I can simply clear the logic. I can go in, I can specify a second logic and gradually build down to the data. There's a display level. I can see a display level output. This is what Power BI can give you. Now, the creating part of this report is very simple, because Power BI platform is made in such a way that you just have to do a drag and drop and your report is ready. It's as simple. Just drag, drop it on the screen and the report is ready. We will be doing this in practical, but post installation. So let's get the installation taken care at least today. Now to get the installation done, let's come down to a plain Google page and just type down Power BI desktop. Just type down Power BI desktop. The first link that we get is what we need to look for. I'll open it in a new tab so that I always can go back to the main page. Here I scroll down. Oh, so just a sec. I guess they might have changed the interface over here. Okay. We had desktop download. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, they might. Oh yeah, there is a language over here. So they have given it directly now. So basically, you can have it for one person, for personal, basically over here. So over here, you can specifically select a language and you can simply click on the download, and that allows you to download the version directly. So the one which has the number 64 is for the 64-bit, and the one without a number is the 32-bit in this case. You can see the more details, all the options over here at the bottom. Okay, so let me share this link in the chat for you guys so that you can also download it at your end in case anyone wants to download. So let me show you the process. Once you click on download, you have to select the version that you want to download. Please only download one of them. Do not download both unnecessary. That won't make any sense. So once you download it, just click on the download button and it will be downloaded. This should not take more than 15 minutes. And after that, you just have to go like 5 minutes to 7 minutes to download it. And then it's just next to get the installation taken care. So let me copy the URL and paste it in the chat. If you have already installed it, well and good. Just type installation done. So that way I'll know that installation is taken care and I can proceed further. So please guys, get the downloading done if in case you are planning to do it with me. Let me put the URL. Oh yeah, it's already there in the chat as well. So guys, as of now, it's 8:06. I'll wait till 8, let's say 15 max, 10 minutes for getting the installation completed. And then I'll kickstart with my Power BI. By the time, let me launch my Power BI at my end. So basically to launch Power BI, you just go to start and just search for Power BI. That way it will be launched. Let me launch it at my end. You go to start Power BI. Yep, there we go. As I'm using multiple applications, it will take time to load in my end, but at your end, once it is installed, it should make it easy. This is how the Power BI launch looks like. Microsoft Power BI, it will launch automatically. I repeat, whoever is done with the installation, please type installation done so that I know how many of you guys have completed it. Anyone facing any issues, let me know. If not, you can just watch through. That's also fine by me. You guys don't have to log in. Even if it's asking for logging in, please ignore it. You don't have to log in, guys. You can just ignore the login part. If it asks for any login, just cancel it. Simply cancel it, and that should take care of it. If anything appears at your end, just cancel it. If you say any green screen, say get started, asking for any login, just cancel the interface, and that should be good to go. This is basically how your Power BI will look like once the launch is done. So we have another, I would say, 7 minutes to get the installation taken care. I repeat, guys, whoever is done with the installation, just type installation done in the chat. No worries. As I said, if it's taking time to install, we have 5 minutes. It should not take more than that. But in case if it is taking more than that, just have a watch on the session because it would not make any sense to hold, right? So you can refer the recording in the future. So that's totally fine. Just wait for another 5 more minutes and then I'll show you how Power BI works at an offline level. The difference between Tableau and Power BI majorly, so one, both of them are Power BI visualization tool itself. But the major difference I would say is one, it's a bit user friendly, I would say. And secondly, if you have to talk about Power BI, it's a free application. So you do not need any, like it's a lifetime free app, I would say rather. So you can just get it installed and start using it directly. Only for the publishing part, you need to have login credentials or let's say a proper account. But apart from that, to present or to prepare data at a desktop level, you can do it even without licenses. But in Tableau, if I have to talk about the same, it's not the case because you can only use it for 15-day trial. And once the trial is exhausted, then even if you go for let's say Tableau public, some features are not available. But when it comes to Power BI, even at a free version, you get 100% like full access. There's no limitation in that case. So in terms of then there is something called LOD over here. That's level of detail in Tableau. Over here it is called as DAX, which is data analytical expression. So that's the variation moreover. But yes, the end result moreover looks at a visual level would be moreover same. There might be minute differences that you can identify at Tableau and but yeah, moreover both of them are visualization platforms. So we'll wait for another 3 more minutes max. It's 8:12 right now. Again, if you are done with the installation, please type installation done in the chat box. Okay, guys, so it's about time. So let's get started with Power BI. So first and foremost, as you can see, this is the Power BI platform, and Power BI is a very easy tool to use. It's just a drag and drop. But the only thing is you need to have a sample data. And to torpedo that situation, what Power BI have done over here is it has actually given you sample data to work with. So whenever you launch Power BI for the first time without any data inside it, on the screen itself, it gives you interface from where you can pick a sample visual data. As you can see, you can, if you already have an Excel sheet at your end, you can simply upload that Excel and you can prepare reports and outputs. Let's say if not, you have SQL database, which you will be learning in the upcoming sessions. You can pick up SQL database as a source. If nothing, then you can also do a copy paste, like simply paste the data and you can take a report out of it. So these are all the options available at your end. But let's say if nothing, then Power BI itself gives you an option called try a sample data. So whenever you install Power BI, with the installation, a sample data is also provided. You simply click on this try a sample data. It launches an interface asking you, would you like to learn? So Microsoft has a collection of videos which you can go and learn on your own if need be. If not, if you already are familiar with Power BI, you can simply start with link or load a sample data to work with it. So I'll be using load a sample data in this case to work with a small sample. Let me click onto that. It's trying to load a financial sample. It will launch the interface and tell me like what all sample I am able to pick up. So as you can see here, there are two sheets. One is the sheet one where the data exists, and one is a table, which is apparently the data in the sheet itself. So if I'm only looking for the table, I can simply click on it and it actually gives you a preview what data I'm about to load. And as you can see on the right side, this is the data. That's what I'm going to load in this case. In this situation, I'll pick up the entire sheet itself. Let's say I'll just pick up the whole sheet. Now to activate, to confirm it, just use the checkbox to confirm the data source, and that concludes there. Now, how do I know I've confirmed it? When you turn the checkbox on, you would see the data load. Like in this case, this is it, guys. Yeah. So as you can see in this case, when you see sheet one is not active or any of the options are not active, the load and transform is disabled. But as soon as you activate it, that's a confirmation that I would like to load the sheet one into my final output. And then I just have to click on load. Loading is moreover like a confirmation that yes, that's the sheet I want to work upon. And once the completion is done, once the loading is completed, you would be able to see this data on the right side. So let's give it a pause over here so that the data gets loaded. And once the loading is completed, you would see the list appearing at this side. So let's give it a pause over here, maybe another minute more. Attendance sheet will be shared at 8:30 sharp. So my colleague over here will be sharing the link in the chat. So no worries on that. Just bear with till then. As you can see, the data is already loaded. Let me open it up and give it a name, sample. And that's the data I'm gonna work right now. So I'll just take a pause over here for everyone else who are trying this out with me. Give it an attempt at your end, guys. Any questions? Let me know. From here on, you will see in the span of next, let's say 20 to 30 minutes, how I end up creating a dashboard itself, a full-fledged report in this case. Let me just give the sheet name as C1. That's chart 1. Done. That's great. That's great. Awesome. Okay. Now, the best part of Power BI is that Power BI understand what you're trying to build. For example, if I take profit and drop it onto the screen, it simply gives me a bar chart, assuming I'm doing a comparison. So in this case, as you can see, it's a smart. Basically, it's giving me the total profit. Like once it loads, you will see the number, and you can see it's total profit. So the total profit I've earned as of is 16.89 millions. To make it a proper display number, I can do a comma separator, and if you want, you can provide number formatting. So in this case, it says 2 decimal. If I mark it as 0, you will see automatically the display or the decimals on the screen also disappears directly. So that's 17 million in total. Let's say I want to see the result, not only the total. Instead, I want to see product level total. I can simply drag product into the screen, and that gives me product level total across. And you can see that's the first report, a product level profit. You want to see some more information, you can simply go to the option. You can activate, deactivate stuff directly, and you can see the result on the screen directly. So anything you want, you simply come to the brush, you turn it on, you turn it off, and the visual is ready with us. And that's my first chart. As you realize, that's how simple it is to make a report over here. Let's say if you try to create a geolocation. Now, I know country is a geolocation. If I try to drag it onto the screen, it gives me the list. Now, because it's a text, right now my Power BI does not understand this is a geolocation. Let me make it understand. Now, to do that, I click on the column and I tell my system that this column is a geolocation, which is a country. Once I do that, you would see automatically a globe appears in this case. And that benefits is that I drag it over here onto my screen, and you can see the map is what I see here. Because now my system understands that this is a geolocation, this is a map related out. And if I put sales into it, the circle size changes depending on the map size or the sale. The higher the volume, the higher the circle, or the bigger the circle in this case. Again, you can do the necessary formatting over here as well, applying comma separators. And if in case you do not want any decimals, you can simply implement it out over here. Let's say I want the circle to be a little bit bigger. No worries. I can come to the brush over here, and there's an option over here called bubble size. So basically, just dedicated functionalities are here. We don't have to search the option. You just read it and you'll understand the data directly. Let's say in this case, I'll maximize it a little bit to make the circle a little bit more bigger. And that gives me a bubble size interface. Now, let's say, for example, if I want to have a bifurcation in the data, I can even perform that over here. You can see there are legends, labels, options are available. I'll just put a field over here. So you can simply play with just simple drag and drops. I plot in the information and you can see a report at a yearly level. So you can see 2013, 2014 breakup of the data. I can place the map over here at the bottom, creating the second visual ready available. And the best part is if I click on a product over here, that actually triggers the data at the bottom. You can see the circle, the pie changes its size depending on the product that I'm selecting and depending on the variable that I'm choosing. This is how beautiful your Power BI works. The reverse also works on the same case. Let's say if you click on the slice here, it actually triggers the above value to show you exactly what is the sales or what's the profit out of this sales that you're achieving. And nothing, just click back on the same slice and you're back to it. Just drag and drop the object onto the screen and the Power BI platform will react to the selection. For the first one, I simply drag profit onto the screen and then I drag products into it. That gave me product level profit. For the second one, I just drag country into the screen. That gave me a geolocation, and within that country, I just drag sales, and that gives me sales at a country level. Can we export this data into PPT? Yes, you can. You just have to do a copy paste, and this data simply gets exported into PPT. You can do that into PPT as well. If nothing, if you want to have a live data, you can use something called as Power BI Tile, which is an add-in which allows you to upload or rather take this into your Power BI or PPT sessions or PPT slides, which becomes a live output. But yes, there is a small catch over there that to do that, you need to have login, because first you'll have to publish it and then try it. For normal copy paste, you would not require it, but then that would be just a picture, like a normal snapshot. But still better than recreating the whole structure. You can still do that, right? So that's an easy way out. And just wait, take a pause over here for a minute or two. Oh, that's great. If you have used Power BI for an assignment, that's really great. That means you have an understanding of how Power BI works. That's awesome. So basically what I understand, or what from my experience what I've come up is that first you need to have a better understanding of Excel. Once you have a better understanding of Excel, that means your data understanding is clear. Then you can go to visualization, which either you can pick up, let's say in this case, Tableau or Power BI, either one. And once you understand that, then you can move down to something called data modeling, which in turn is data structuring, data formatting. And for that, SQL will be the best option. So where you will actually learn data modeling, data concepts, and so on. So you can repeat now. So repeat that. Yeah. So to load the data, the first thing is like in my case, I won't be able to do it again because I've already have the data. And if I delete this, all the charts will be disappearing. But if you do not have anything on the screen, you will see 4 boxes. Please try the 4th box, which is sample data. Once you go into the sample data, from there you can actually access, like it will simply load the reference. Just activate sheet 1 and load it. Just click on the bottom button called load. Once you do that, the data gets loaded and you can start with the data directly. If in case you are watching it on YouTube, you can simply use the play axis, the play button, and go back and watch the video in the past. You will be able to get that. Yeah. Great. Now, once this is done, I need to make a report. I need to make a text level report. I want to have a table around, right? In this situation, I actually use segment as an option. So segment is a text, right? It simply plots the data one below the other, and you can see that data has been presented. Now, to best make it ascending, descending, you just have to click on the heading and that gets sorted automatically. Now, any information that you need into it, you just plot it. But I want to maintain it as a table. The challenge, what happens is if I put anything into the frame here, let's say, for example, if I put it sales, automatically it converts into a chart. Now, I don't want this structure to happen, right? I do not want this structure to happen. I want to maintain it as a table only. So in this situation, I just don't want my Power BI to now start suggesting things for me. So there's an option over here, suggest a type, which is currently turned on. I just simply turn it off. So now I have the control on the visual and I can simply plot information. Like for example, I take sales and that gives me the sales value. So let me also, it's already there in the comma separator. Let me put cost above it. So that becomes my cost of the data. So let me make the cost as a comma separator. So I'll just use comma and I'll just reduce the decimals over here. And that's my cost. So the cost for the product over here is so on. So let me put, let me make it a proper arranged output. So let's say cost comes later, sales comes first. Let's say this is the sales at which I sold the product. This was the cost of the goods. After that, I give them some discount. So let me put the discount as well as a part of the record, and that comes out as a discount. Let me also use comma separator over here. And let's say over here, that's cost. And that's the discount. So now let's say if I want to understand what is the profit that I'm gaining out of it. So if I take the profit as the last layer, and that shows me the profit that I'm earning out of this particular. If you see, the sale was done for 18 lakhs. The cost was for 4 lakhs, of which I give a discount of additional 1 lakh. So the profit in this case is around 30. And if you see here, the sale was done at 1 crore. The cost was 2 crore. I ended up also having a discount over here. So I end up getting a loss of 6 lakhs. So it gives me a full-fledged trail report of how the data works in this situation. So this way I can present some additional. If I, let's say for example, if I want to incorporate a gross sale over here, I can simply add gross as a part of the record, and that gives me the gross value as well. So if in case you want to have a gross report, you can actually pick up gross also as a last layer in. So this actually comes out to the realistic out, like how the data works in this. And all of these are dynamic in nature. You can simply play around with these data and you can see the report. Let me show you some reports. Let's say if I remove the headers over here, and now if I just click on any of the layers, you can see for a product level, what's the sales, what's the cost, every information is provided in this case. You can also pick up at a product level, like a segmental level, and you can see the report changing. If I click on any segment, that actually shows how the data is playing. So everything at a BI level from point one is a reactive output. Let's say if you want to talk about a yearly report, let's say I want to make a pie chart out of it. I can make a yearly report in this case, simply picking up year as a base, and let's say profit as a value. That gives me yearly profit that I'm earning in this case. This is how Power BI. You realize I ended up creating a report over. If you see right now, I have made a report for you guys. Last but not the least, the discount band. If let's say discount band wise the sales, that gives me discount band wise sales report. Like if I have to say, let's say I do not want this chart, I can simply choose a chart over here and that gives me a summary. And that ends up like in a matter of few minutes, to be specific, 10 minutes, I end up creating a full-fledged report representing product level sales, country level output, segment level breakup of profit from cost, discount level sales, and yearly profit, which all of them are correlated to each other. You do, or you click on one section, the other reacts to that section. You click on a year, you would see exactly year level profit, cost, sales, everything at once. This is what Power BI is capable of, guys. And all of this is possible in a matter of minutes. Imagine if this is the amount, or this is the knowledge that you have when you are working in a profession, how fast your work would be done. And again, I repeat the same thing again. This is just the tip of the iceberg. When you enroll yourself into the masterclass, you will get to learn a lot more than what you're seeing. This is just the crust, I would say. So take out 5 minutes, guys. Try it out at your end. Any questions? Let me try this out, and then we'll move down to second phase, third phase to try some web scraping techniques. Lot many other things are available, which we will try it out. So yes, to create a pie chart. So when you do a drag and drop, it normally gives the best suitable chart, which normally at times are bar chart, line charts, and all. But if in case you want to specifically have a chart, you can simply use the chart from the list, or let's say once the chart is created, the panel appears on the right side, right? Just go to the chart control, and from here you can choose a different chart of your choice. So there's a collection of charts already available over here. You can pick up the one of your choice, and that would work it out easily. So you can try any techniques on that case. So my colleague has already shared the attendance sheet in the chat box. So in case if you wish to share the attendance and the feedback, please use the link for that for today's session. Thanks, Amma, for sharing the link. I'll just take a pause for another 2 more minutes, and then we'll move down to the next phase. One more minute, guys. Okay, guys. Now, come to the next phase here. Okay. Now, basically, let's say if I want to get the data at the next level. Okay. So I want to represent the data from the internet in this case. So that's referred as web scraping. Now, to get the data from the internet, from the web, we actually just have to provide the URL. Now, let me show you some sample data for that. Let me go to the browser and let me pick up world population Wikipedia. So I'm going with the world population data, where in the Wikipedia, I'll get the data. So let me pick up some few links. So I just need a table where I get all the populated data. So I'm just picking up some sample links. So let's see few of them. So do we have a table? So basically we are looking for something like this, a table that gives me a list. Now I'm not looking for just a sample. Instead, I would like to go with a full list. Now these are only few lists, like what's the population for the first 10, top 10 and all. I'm looking for the overall at a country level. So this is a yearly report, like the population for every at a year level, like, and for the year, what is the data overall global population? Like, as you can see, this is a global population. Because of global population, how are they growing up and down gradually, the number of growth and so on. So this is world population, and if I go down at a BC to AC level, then there is world population. Again, it's not a country level, it's more over at a world level. Now, this is not what I'm wanting. Let me close this and let me see. Oh, okay. This is something which I can vouch for. So you can see there is a world population over here, which says at a country level, the data is available. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. There's every country name plotted over here, and I would like to go with this one. And I want to present this data onto my browser, or let's say into my Power BI. Now, how do I scrape this information? How do I get this info? There are other websites also, as I can see, there are some other tabs where the reports are available, but let's not take this one for the time being. As you see that there are many reports available, but that's the easy one right now. So I'm not going with these other reports. I'll be using the one which says the world population. Okay, the list of countries and the population. I'll also paste this link in the chat so that everyone can access it easily. And let me copy this URL and put it into my Power. Now, how do I do web scraping in this case? So I'll create a fresh sheet called web scraping. Now in this case, I go to get data from web. Okay. I paste the URL over here and I click OK to confirm. So basically what it does, it now the website is already provided. Let's start scraping the information from the web. Now, if in case it requires any authentication, there would be a window appearing asking for, like, do you want to log in as an anonymous or do you want to log in like an organization? So it's currently checking. So as you can see, it's loading. So let's have a check. Let's see how it goes. So it will take a little bit of time in this case. So let's see how data gets loaded. Yeah, it's okay. It's almost there. Yeah, as you can see, the scraping is like, all the search is completed. So now in this case, it gives me the list of all the table it is able to fetch. So now it's trying to display all the table. Be mindful that whatever it is able to capture, it has to be in a table format. And in this case, we have a content in a table format, so it will be able to capture it. It may take a little bit more time because it's just searching the entire page. Just looking for something called as a table tag. Okay, so the interface has appeared, so it should be able to capture some information. Yeah, there we have it. So these are the tables. So to have a preview, now if you want, you can go to web interface and you can see exactly what table contents are there. So whichever you click upon, it will be highlighted in yellow in case if it is able to highlight it. But over here, you can see the table directly by clicking, which is what you want. So this is the data I'm looking for. You see the world report is there, the city, country, all the information is there. This is the data I want to have. So I activate the sheet here and I simply click on load. Step remains the same. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually capturing a live data from the internet directly. So now the web scraping is about almost completed. Okay, it's getting processed. Few more minutes. So sometimes it does take time because in my case, as I mentioned, I'm using too many applications at the same time because even YouTube, Zoom parallelly are working. So it just takes a little bit of load. But for you guys, it should be done faster. Yeah, 200 records have been loaded. And now in my case also, I have the record over here. Now it does not have correct headings. So as you can see, the headings are not been tagged properly. So let me come to the data view where I can actually see the data itself. So here I can see the full-fledged data, all the columns and everything are available over here. Okay, so this is just the serial number. So I'll just mark it as serial number. I do need the country over here. So this record is needed in my case. Yeah, it's getting loaded. So yeah, this is okay. It's about still loading. So yeah, I'll just rename this as country over here. And that should take care of it. I'm not concerned about this column over here. I'm neither concerned about the percentage of world, right? My intent was only to have serial number, country, and population. I am not concerned about the other columns over here. So in this situation, I can simply hide them. So for doing that, I can actually have the option. Again, it's very simple. You just come to the data view. You just hover the mouse. You can see a small eye icon indicating hide. You just cross it out and those columns simply disappears. Now, definitely it's still visible on the main screen, but when you come to the report, the final interface, you will not be seeing those columns visible. I'll show you, give it a minute. So we perform these outputs over here. Yeah, those two are crossed out. One more, which is source and date. Almost done there. Yeah, that should take care of it. I do not want the date column, so let me hide that one. And I do not want the source. And that should do it. Once these columns are hidden, I just come to the report view and you can see my data is completely clean. You can see whatever requirement columns are there, only those are visible. Okay. Now what I do is I click on the column and I specify the data type as country again because I know this is a geolocation. I specify that and now it's just a matter of drag and drop and my data is present. As you can see, the world map is what I see with a lot of dots, plots in them. I just populate population into it and there we have it. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So basically just plotting information makes it easy. So higher the population, higher the numbers, lower the population. And if I hover the mouse onto these circles, we can see the population numbers being presented on the circle itself. Please try this out at your end if you feel like, and this is web scraping. The benefit of web scraping is that you can simply do a refresh, and if the population number changes, automatically all these chart variable also changes gradually. So let's say if I have to hover the mouse on India, let's say if you have to zoom in, we can also do a zoom in to see a more detailed output, and you can see the numbers gradually. I can zoom in all the way down to, let's say, Delhi, and I can zoom in further in more detail. Any location, if you want, you can zoom in, and to that extent it is. So these maps are live basically. Like you can zoom in, zoom out into the map just by pinching in and pinching out. You pick up any location, you can zoom in into that location to a point that you can also see road maps if there are roads available at that location. So that's about it, guys, from my side for the day. and I will be taking up now, as always we discussed, right? 10 minutes for Q&A. So I open the platforms for any Q&As, any questions, please put it in the chat and I'll take it up from there. Please do share your feedback and do mark your attendance using the link. Amar has already shared it in the chat box. So please see to it that you do update it at your end. Rohit, in day 3, we will understand how web scraping. So we'll understand a little bit more into web scraping and we'll see how it works. And then post, we will be starting with either SQL or Tableau. So you'll have an understanding of how those platforms work. That's the agenda. So basically in these 10-hour sessions, you'll understand Excel, Power BI, Tableau, and SQL in more detail. And for better understanding, to learn more about them, you can attend the masterclass for that matter. Just DAX in Power BI and Rohit, we will not be able to cover DAX in this case, but to give you an understanding, DAX is moreover like a formula. So in Excel, we term it as a formula. In Power BI, we term it as DAX. But yes, we do have in the masterclass, you will actually be learning it in more detail, like what's DAX, the type of DAX, like LODs are like calculates are there, time intelligence functions are there, date tables are there, calendars are there. There are a lot many things that covers into it. Quick measures are there, implicit measure, explicit measure, dependent table, parent, like there is something called as fact table and dependent table. So concept to that, all those things will be covered in the master. Anyone else with questions, please let me know. If not, then I'll hand over the platform to Amar in that case.
Any query or question for me, please drop in the chat box.
Sorry, Amar, did you say anything?
My voice is clear?
Yeah, you are audible now. Tell me.
Okay. So guys, if you have any query or question for me now, please drop in the chat box.
Okay, Amar, I believe there are no questions for me, so I'll hand over the platform to you, so you can take it up from here on.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session.
Thank you. Same here.
Yeah. Guys, any query? Okay, so there is no any further question. So we're done with the day. So we'll meet you on tomorrow at same time. Thank you so much for joining the session. Bye bye. Good night.